coming off the heels of mass unrest that's happening in Minneapolis. That woman was shot by ICE. Since then, I think one other guy got shot in the leg because he tried to swing a shovel at an ICE officer's head. And then apparently another person somehow got suffocated while in custody. Of course, shockingly, the person was a child predator. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know if I think that's under investigation, but of course the left is already running with it that he was summarily executed, which obviously we don't want ICE to execute people, but at the same time, I guess if you're going to smother someone, a pedophile is a good choice, I suppose. No.
Oh my God.
But so one of the funniest things I've seen, this episode is not going to be about the ICE thing largely, but one of the funniest things I've seen is this from Joy Reid. So I created a post about it. LMAO Lamau. Joy Reid admits that she doesn't want to risk the lives of Black people. So her and the other communists are trading white women to go out on the front line and sacrifice themselves to defeat white supremacy. And then I phrased it as Karen kamikazes, if you will. Truly, truly astounding stuff.
This woman was part of a group of people who they trained to try to be ICE interrupters.
Mhm.
And what they try to do is observe what ICE is doing, film them, and try to use their white privilege, to be honest. They're mainly white people.
Which is what we ask.
Which is what we ask them to do, right?
Yeah.
Because Black people, like, we can't put our bodies on the line because cops will shoot us. And so the presumption had been, particularly a white woman, because remember, part of the rationale for doing this with ICE is to save white women, pristine white women, from being ravaged by, criminal brown men. So white women have been taking the lead in being the ones to step forward. This woman.
What'd you say?
No, it's like, oh my God. Did you stop it halfway through?
No, that was it. That was the end.
Oh my God. Okay. No, because I thought I was going to go on because, oh my God.
No, it's just I just love that though. That's what I'm saying. Like last week we were sort of going back and forth on the Christy Noam.
What is she trying? Like, what is she trying to say? Like,
she's just saying that Black people are in increased danger for being killed by police. So instead, activists, Black activists, and probably white and other different kinds of activists are essentially sending Karens out, annoying, crazy white ladies, as like the vanguard, if you will, the front line of the war against ICE, and they're training white ladies because they have privilege, and so ICE will treat them better. Which how'd that work out? How did that work out for you?
Yeah, like the reason I'm so surprised, the reason I thought there was so much more to that clip is because there's so much that is unsaid in that, and just in general, with all of, I remember seeing a bunch of clips of when Black women were saying, no, don't say her name. That phrase is reserved for Black women.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And like, so Black women can't go out and protest because they'll be shot. Okay, so let's send the Karens out. Let's let them be the sacrificial lambs. They want to anyways. And I mean, why would we honor them anyways?
Yeah, that's what now. Yes, last week we were sort of like going back and forth on like the Christy Noam discourse about whether or not these are domestic terrorists, and I've completely rethought it. I am in 100% complete agreement with Christy Noam. Okay, so these white women, who are the ones that have legitimacy within the institutions that are pushing to change them, to make them more queer, to make them more critical race theory friendly? White ladies. Who are the ones who are at the school board meetings who are advocating for pushing porn, gay porn, into kids' schooling? White ladies. Who are the ones that are advocating for kids to be mutilated? White ladies. These ladies are literally communist revolutionaries hiding under the guise of being like a white liberal. But they are, except for Black women, white liberal women are the most problematic demographic in the country in terms of handing over power to leftists. They're a nightmare. They're an absolute. They're the ones that are screaming at school boards. I mean, you see that. It's funny because a lot of these people will make a lot of people on the right will make fun of these white ladies and mock them for being faux revolutionaries. But are they faux revolutionaries? They're out in the front lines. They're getting shot up by ICE. They're getting assaulted by ICE. Even the transfer, even the dude the other day that got like blinded by one of the ICE agents. I don't know if you saw that. Her eye was welded shut. It's a woman who has transitioned into a man. There is no more radical activist in existence right now than like the white liberal woman. I'm just saying. I'm just saying they are extremely radicalized, completely batshit insane, and willing to apparently do almost anything, even going so far as to trans their own child.
You know,
Now, does that make them domestic terrorists? I don't know, but they are insane activists that are making all of this possible. They give legitimacy to the concerns of depraved, sociopathic trans women who want to invade women's spaces and experiment on kids. That's what they're doing.
You know what bothers me? That nothing you said is wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not wrong in any way at all. Oh my god, this is so terrifying.
The thing is, see now, so I do not like a lot of people on the right are just for a long time. The left has viewed the right forever as just bad people, racist, emblematic of white supremacy, and they view whites, particularly in the South and Republican voters, as the last dying gasp of like the Confederacy and white supremacy. So the left only views the right as evil forever. For the longest time, the right has viewed the left as like okay people that are just brainwashed and don't really know what they're doing. Now, see,
the common thing is like the right views the left as you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean they are largely wrong. I mean, am I see that this is what I'm saying. So I don't think we need the left. What the left needs to be is what the classical liberals are. Like I came to this realization like yesterday. We don't need the left. We just need the classical liberals and the right wing. That's what we need.
Well, yeah, of course, but I mean, this goes back to the central question: what do you do against in this situation when you have two sides, and one side's like, "I think you're wrong about your opinions," and the other side's like, "I wish you were dead for your opinions." Like,
exactly.
Okay, what do we do there, especially when we have the control of institutions and trillions of dollars basically, on the table, if one group takes power over another, like that's what's at stake.
Yeah, correct. And a lot of these, I talk to a lot of like conservative boomers, and they still think there's going to be like they have this very childish black and white type of thought that there's going to be some mass awakening. There's not. There's either going to be some kind of collapse, and then everyone's going to come out of their fog, or in order for that to happen, you would basically need something that would look like and be akin to a fascistic takeover. And I call it the signal that all the institutions, the media put out in order to convince people that we live in a white supremacist state, that men can be women. You need a disruption of the signal for that kind of thing to happen. Think about that, what that would take. What are you going to march into CBS, NBC, all of these different like news orgs? How are you going to co-opt all these NGOs that are pushing legislation? Like, how are you going to do that? It's not practical, and it's never going to happen.
I mean, the mainstream is just one arm of the octopus. It doesn't matter. You still have like you said, NGOs. You still have liberal governments all over the world, or liberal governments. It's weird. It's like, hey, they're starting to put a lot of people in prison, these democracies, for weird for non-physical things like expressing your opinion and things like that. It seems a little odd. Or wanting to wave a flag of your country. Oh my god! Like,
and even like on the left, it's funny because like you have people on the left who have varying opinions, and they'll it's sort of like a Mott and Bailey. Like the true stance of the left, the true stance is that ICE is illegitimate and should not exist. That's like it's the Mott and Bailey, right? So they go, we need to abolish ICE, and then we were like, wait, they've been around since 2003, like they've been doing this forever. This seems kind of extreme. Some of them then will, go back and jump back and hide and go, well, they're just going to be reformed. But no, like they legitimately view ICE as illegitimate. So like you can't give them an inch. All of these protests, all of this is an attempt to provoke agitation, to like just like just like Joy Reid admitted, this woman was a trained leftist agitator designed to agitate to make ICE overreact and commit a violent act. And they're doing this to completely to delegitimize ICE. That's why when they try to have like a sane conversation about it, it's like, well, you can't really have a sane conversation because what's behind you attempting to have this faux sane conversation is that you believe that the institution itself is legitimate and you want to abolish it. That's all it is.
No, I don't. I mean, that might be. I think that's largely performative. That might be true for some, maybe diehard believers, but like the real. If a radical leftist would take over, let's say, well, would be the president of the United States, they wouldn't abolish ICE. They would just open the border, and ICE would enforce the new immigration law, which is anyone can come fucking in. And if you're Texas that decides to put up razor wire or something, nope, it goes down, and they're probably gonna arrest some people there. If you have some states or districts that decide to be anti-sanctuary city and just not allow people to come in their towns, ICE will be there to make sure that immigrants can go wherever they want.
Honestly, that's a really good point because, well, think about it. The end result is the same.
Here's the thing:
the purpose of
they're real. Sorry, they're real. What they really want is just control. Like they don't care how they get it. They will lie. They'll say this is illegitimate. They'll get rid of they'll say whatever they need to say to gain power, and then just, okay, this is mine now. I can do what I want. I'm going to push as hard as I can with the institutional power I have now. And then the longer I stay in, the more institutional power I'm going to create.
Honestly, that's a great point because to me, it's like, it's sort of the point stands is that ICE would be abolished in that the purpose of ICE would be co-opted and then turned into something that it's not. So either way, you're doing away with the mechanism of enforcing borders and deporting illegal immigrants. Like either way,
you're doing away with the original purpose of whatever institution or whatever enforcement mechanism you're talking about, because that's just what they do.
And that's golden too, because like, right, they basically, like, what ends up happening is that they creep inside institutions, change it from the inside, and then they just wear it like a skin suit, and then it operates as something completely different as what it's designed to be. So
this is perfect. So frustrating. You can't have a high trust society with these fucking people. You just can't. Nope. You can't. You have to be paranoid. Oh, you can't be paranoid. Oh, you're being paranoid. It's like, well, yes, because the moment we relax and say everything is nice, aka the 90s, is just you're seeding the eventual doom of the rest of the country, because there's that leftist takeover that just constantly is in the background. Fuck, dude. This is so
no, that's
that's have nice things because of these people.
And that's why I said, but like what the left is and what it has become, that's what I'm saying. You don't need them. That's like saying that you need like a little bit of cancer in your body. Like the classical liberals, look at the way the classical liberals have now positioned themselves. They're sort of like they position themselves as on the right, but really, if you're looking at the classical liberals, they would mostly act as the left, and they're more about maintaining order. They still want like things done that the right wing wants done. They just don't want to go as far as the right wing. Whereas the left, it's like an invasive species inside of like an environment, and it's going to co-opt and destroy everything. Whereas the classical liberals aren't so much like that. That's what I'm saying. The classical liberals could be positioned in the position that the left is in, and not be like a fifth column like concept seeking on destroying and transforming everything. So you really don't need the left as it is.
I mean, of course, but like it's too late now.
Yeah. But I want to get to the the meat and potatoes of this.
Yeah, let's get to the part that really bothers you.
So the trans thing will always forever be my thing. It's emblematic of why you need a limiting principle. It is the ultimate incursion of the left, and not just manipulating people based around maybe sex or race, but manipulating people based around this made-up concept of gender and attempting to actually create a new category of human being. Craziest thing in the world. And I think, Angel, you have some info about the different cases that were being used when they were discussing in the Supreme Court today. But first, I just kind of want to like show a video of like it is the epitome of what they're arguing about right now, or what they were arguing about on the Supreme Court. It's two men that are drag queens, and presumably gay men as drag queens, trying to use a women's restroom, and women not being so happy about that.
These are boys.
This is a man in the women's toilet. He's a drag queen. You're men.
Did anyone say anything to you guys when you guys were uncomfortable with that?
Yes, your presence. Your presence as a man. It's against the law.
And you're all got towards it, right?
Yes, because you are two men. You're a man in the women's loo. Are you in the women's?
You're a man in the women's loo.
Why is a man in the women's loo? Yeah, you're a man. You're a man. Like, why are you in the women's loo? Why do you feel the need to be in here with women? Under the Supreme Court. Do you have respect for women's boundaries? No, you can go into the toilet court with your steps.
Relax. Are you understanding? You're two transgender females.
So you're men.
Just the entitlement. The
Oh my
entitlement.
This
The
is just
the entitlement, bro. Like to be like it's literally, and I'm just going to say it is essentially dudes doing weird stuff to themselves that makes no fucking sense, and then demanding society conform to their new expression of themselves and calling you a bigot if you don't agree with it. It's insane.
bro, this is like 20 years ago. This was a joke, like, oh, if I put on a wig, can I sneak into the girls' bathroom or the girls' locker room? Apparently the answer is yes. Like, who fucking knew, dude?
I just love it. I love that more and more women are becoming more and more outraged by it. I'm very anti-abortion. One of the things, though, I couldn't help but look at it from a pragmatic point of view when Roe v. Wade was overturned. I was afraid that was going to cost the right some leverage that they had with women, because a lot of women don't want men in their spaces. I think it's like an 80-20, 90-10 issue. The majority of people don't support this. So I was like, please, women, please don't vote for the left now because of the abortion issue. Please just get the men out of women's spaces.
You see, you know what's really interesting about that whole interaction?
Yeah.
If there's something very implicit in that whole thing. Yeah, you and what army, you hoes? Like, yeah, the men are stronger than women. That specific video would not exist if women were physically stronger than men. Now, obviously, of course, the whole thing would be reversed, but this is the point. Like, I personally think that if all women had, pepper spray and or tasers, you would have a lot less of these problems.
Yeah.
It's just what I'm saying.
I think so. And of course, this is in the UK where pepper spray and mace tasers are illegal.
I mean, if any of those lasses decided to spit on them or anything or lay the hands, they'd go to jail. They'd be in gulag for 30 years or something like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. And I guarantee if that got into a physical altercation and he decided to beat them, he would get a medal. He would be Keir Starmer himself would apologize, like, oh, we're sorry for having our toxic women in here. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, that's why the realization that they're just men pretending to be women it's such a, when I first had that years ago,
you're just gay with extra, you're gay with extra steps and trying extra privileges. That's like that's what it is, like super gay. Like, it's not just that, it's just I'm a girl. Like, it's what the fuck?
And like I'll talk to liberals and they're like, oh, you sound so uncare and like, unkind. And I'm like, they're just men. In any other situation, if a man was asking to have access to like some sort of space or privileges that he shouldn't be allowed to have, you'd be like, well, that's really fucked up and kind of evil. But the fact that you've been tricked into thinking they're a marginalized group somehow in your mind should allow these men to do these things, which under any other circumstance, you'd be completely against. The revelation that they're just men, when I had that like several years ago, I was like, oh my God. It's so freeing because I have no empathy. The only empathy I have is that you shouldn't be harassed constantly or had rocks or have rocks thrown at you because you want to dress like a woman. Like, go do your thing, but we're not going to give you these privileges.
Oh, these guys, and I'm just sticking with this group in particular. These guys are basically either incels or perverts that are just like, I either want to dress as a woman because I get euphoria boners, or I want to dress as a woman because I have no chance at getting I can't get laid as a guy, so this is my last hope kind of thing. And of course, a lot of porn addiction goes into this, and a lot of weird kind of subgenres of porn go into that. A lot of
yeah. Well, I mean, you think about that. If you're like
right now,
the thing is though, like if you're a weird, sort of like unattractive or strange dude, you trans yourself, that opens you up to an entire like new realm of possibilities for freaky sex. Like
a whole new realm of perversion. Oh yes.
Like when you're queer, like queerness is right. It is the opposite of all things that are dominant. And what is more dominant than the idea that we enjoy beauty? So that's why you see these women take on these personalities and they end up gaining a bunch of weight. They get facial piercings everywhere, tattoos everywhere. So they're actually queering their beauty, making themselves ugly. And in the eyes of another queer person, that is actually sort of beautiful and something you want. So like you could be some.
Oh, so it's a dog whistle. Nice.
Yeah, you could like drugged up looking weird ugly dude, but when you take on this queer personality and make all these changes to yourselves, hey man, like you literally an entire realm of possibilities of weird, freaky, kinky sex is open up to you. Because a lot of them are. I've talked to a lot of these people, and you've talked to them. They immediately project their own perversion onto you, saying you're obsessed with kids' genitals. They always make it sexual. Usually not always, but usually it'll turn to sexually explicit, violent sort of threats because that's the first thing on the front of their mind. I mean, dudes are perverts, right? But what happens if you have a dude who's a pervert, but then takes on the actual identity of perversion? It's a perfect storm of creating just awfulness.
Oh gosh, okay, I can't believe we've taken this direction. But I mean, like, if you're a guy and you're a pervert, ill. But if you're a girl, like an actual girl and a pervert, there's a lot of people who are into that sort of thing. So if you're gonna there's that desperate hope for. I would imagine a lot of guys. Well, let me trans myself. I'm sure there's someone out there who likes that. Well, yes, they are. They're all on Reddit, I think.
Yeah, and I don't really care about these people. The people that I care about are like the kids. This is because like a lot of these kids are awkward, have like Asperger's, autism. In any other reality, everyone always says trans is the new goth, right? In any other timeline, these would just be awkward kids that could find their own little niches and find other kids that are kind of awkward like them, and then they have their own little clique or subgroup. But now they're being inducted into this type of ideology that is inherently destructive on multiple fronts. So like, I was an awkward kid. I don't think I ever would have trained myself, but I was an awkward kid, and I would hang out a lot with these kids at like concerts. A lot of these kids that do this remind me of the scene kids that I'd run into at metal and hardcore and like pop punk shows. So the fact that they turned all of these awkward little kids that are just looking to belong into this sort of weird cult-like apparatus is extremely frustrating to me. It's one of the things that really pisses me off about the whole thing. And then we also have from CNN, this is when Trump signed the executive order banning trans women from women's sports. Look at this is a CNN poll, right? This isn't some Rasmussen or Breitbart poll. This is a CNN poll. You got to imagine the majority of people that are taking it. Well, it's from the New York Times, right? So New York Times, very mainstream liberal publication. You got to assume the majority of the people that are taking it are mainstream Democrat types. 79% oppose transgender men.
Oh my God. Is this an 80-20 issue?
And that's what I'm saying. That's like the thing. There's so much money backing this, and the push for transhumanism as sort of like the next evolutionary feature of mankind is so strong that they're just going to keep pushing it because it is the majority of the populace denies it. While at the same time, of course, those people will go like the same people. I guarantee. Okay, 79% right there. I would say that 65% of those people would say that they support trans rights. And yet those same people would then still vote against men being women's sports because there's this strange disconnect in their heads. No, they never think practically and logically about what trans rights actually looks like, which is, of course, men being in women's spaces.
Yeah. So what is a constant thing that those trans activists say is trans rights are human rights?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, you just want to legalize going into just saying whatever your gender you are. No, it's just I think it should be, people deserve human rights. And which, yeah, don't harass people, leave people alone, but that's, that door swings both ways. Like, you don't get to fucking teach like about like queer butt sex in fifth grade because you think it's unfair that there's education about people's body parts in high school or middle school or something like that. Like, that's just fucking weird. Like, all of like a lot what you can say about the left is basically all of much of their ideology just stems from sheer jealousy of just, oh, we're not the my opinion isn't the dominant opinion, or my weird marginalized thing isn't as taught and accepted as everything else. It's not as mainstreamed. It's like, well, yeah, that's the purpose of mainstream. Not everything can be mainstreamed. If everything can be mainstreamed, then nothing is mainstreamed, actually. And this is just a thing that's just, it's obvious. Like,
Correct. And that's the other thing about,
why can't everyone be a millionaire?
That's why a lot of the
children know that. Children know that shit. If everybody had a first edition Charizard, it wouldn't mean shit.
Now I'm friendly with a lot of the LGBs minus the TQ pluses. I'm friendly with a lot of them, but the thing is, normalizing homosexuality was always going to lead us to this point, because if homosexuality is normal, then why wouldn't you teach butt sex to kids? Like, if you remove the abnormal part of homosexuality, if you remove the abnormal stigma to that, the logical conclusion is that homosexual sex should be taught to kids just like heterosexual sex. It's slippery slope, blah blah blah, etc. etc. We're gonna get to the stuff about the Supreme Court. We also have this. It is breaking: an undercover journalist caught a public school official suggesting they allow boys to play in girl sports. She says the boy who thinks he's a girl can play sports and not tell parents.
I did have a question about that.
Yes.
My sister's transgender, so I have both her adopted birth certificate and her original.
Yeah.
Is there one that you'd like me to submit?
We'll do both of them.
Okay.
We'll just cover all bases.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure she's covered. Yes, not a problem.
And then my husband and I wanted to also keep her in athletics because we were able to in Virginia. Is that something we're still able to do here?
You bet.
Okay, even though she's trans.
You bet. You bet. We have the kiddos. I know we do. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would we have to tell parents?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that's the kind of inspiration to go over. I mean, if it's not free, not at the schools. As I inwardly I wrote. I know that I know a student personally in high school that was really trying to You're correct.
So, I mean, yeah, you just have a school administrator just openly admitting that they have a trans kid there that is not out yet. So let's forget about allowing the little boys, the hypothetical boy in this situation, to compete in girls' sports, but they also know the status of the child's quote unquote gender identity, but they're not out yet. Is this like, because they've been caught, like administrators and teachers have been caught multiple times allowing children to transition at home, or excuse me, at school, and then at home the parents don't actually know that their child is transitioning. So how do you account for this person? If you pass like a massive bill and try to enforce it everywhere, how do you account for like the individual people that are still going to allow for this kind of thing to continue? And once again, this woman may as well be that Renee Good woman that was shot in the face. Is the same type of revolutionary behavior, spitting in the eye of the evil fascist dictators that are trying to enforce the sex binary. It's the same shit.
Okay, so oh man, my answer's a cop out. How would someone like that lady respond in return if the roles were reversed? Would that lady, would she want to put me in jail if, it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna let we'll let any trans person participate in any sport, and I'll just be like, I don't know about that. We're different. We don't believe in that sort of thing. These people would put me in prison for that sort of thing. So, because the question still hasn't been answered, because people like moderates, and I mean, I say I'm a moderate, and I don't have an answer to how do you defend yourself against people who are waging war against you. And I think the only way is fighting a defensive war, which unfortunately doesn't exist. And if you can't fight defensively without causing damage in return. And obviously I'm talking about strictly lawfare, because that's the realm we're in, unfortunately. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, what do we do against that sort of person? You get them fired.
Yeah.
And make them pay a heavy fine. You don't do that sort of thing. The law is the law, and I don't fucking care what your opinions are. Like we have to set we need to set some sort of baseline of these are the rules that we are following. And just because you have an opinion, just because you go where, you can't just do whatever you want. Because then we have millions, hundreds of millions of people who are just going to do what they want, and that's a recipe for disaster.
It's true. It's very frustrating that we even have to have this conversation. Although, so I talk about how much I hate the left, but I do secretly appreciate the left, because their entire whole shtick of sort of postmodern everything is a social construct. And I know this is just not me, it's millions of other people, has really forced
I just want to say your mom is a social construct. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's really forced us to like reassess our priors. Like, if if leftist insanity had never taken over, I would have probably just gone on the rest of my life, just sort of going along with the flow, just accepting things as they come. I would have never found all of this weird counterculture stuff online about philosophy and metaphysics and epistemology and ontology. I would have never found any of that out and completely revamped my life and turned into something that I am now. I probably would have just very much just kept, like I said, going with the flow and just continue my life. But these questions that they've asked in terms of trying to, sort of subvert reality and then replace the existing reality with their version of reality, like, it allows so many people to actually look at how they view reality and question why they view reality that way, and really reassess how they view it. Like, honestly, for that, I will thank them until the day I die.
Oh man, it's like I sort of wish. I was just thinking, oh man, I sort of wish I'd taken the blue pill. Like, I was just take me back to the times where I was a normie and I didn't know any of this, that I just thought like I can just teach civics class and be like, yeah, follow the law, you'll be rewarded because you're a good tax-paying citizen, and yay, we're all gonna sing Kumbaya together or some type shit.
Now, like that. I get that, but I do think that if you are like completely, I know it's like cliche at this point, but if you are completely blue pilled, I do think that little bits of your humanity are like sort of worn away at, because you're existing within a paradigm in which you've been programmed to view reality a certain way, and you don't even realize that you've been programmed. Like, being in it and then coming out of it, some people go the complete opposite way and go insane, which we've seen with Candace lately. But you can come out of it and then actually look at the world and be like, how do I want to view the world? What do I want to make of my life? Like, the left's insanity has allowed us to ask these questions that we probably never would have asked, which is freeing. To me, it's freeing.
Yeah, I know, but it's, oh my god, it's such an annoying, it's such a burden. It's so
it's a burden.
Yes, just knowing that tens of millions, maybe more, of these kinds of people exist who are just there just to cause chaos. Like, this is the thing. If you are an agent of chaos, if your whole shtick is to cause chaos, that's fucking demonic. Like, because that's the thing that humanity hates the most. We will choose anything except chaos, which, means we're easily controlled by people with a lot of power who have the ability to create the emergency of chaos and then give us a solution of fake order.
Yeah. I suppose
it's terrible to know. Like, when you first realize that as a person, like, oh, wait a second, fuck, these kinds of people exist, and they are powerful. Like, people perform conspiracies all the time. People game the system all the time. People commit fraud all the time. Like, it's just, yes, it's there, and it sucks because there's no way to get rid of it. Like this whole corruption thing that's been happening. What if corruption is just a built-in part of our
Oh, it
system
is. It is.
that is necessary, and just you have to fucking deal with it.
You're
peasant taxpayer.
you're always going to have some sort of totalitarian unfair. That's why I keep saying that I'm black pilled on the big picture, because like I don't really care. I mean, I care because I'm here bitching about it, but truly I don't care about the direction society is. That's not. Let me rephrase this.
No matter what, it's gonna be a piece of shit at the top that takes advantage of everyone else under them, because
That's what I'm saying.
the way every human system fucking works.
Yeah.
Unless there's only one way out of it, and that's if we built a whole freaking bot army that we just decide to fully enslave, which that's its own problem altogether.
Well, yeah, that would just create a new kind of problem that would be similar. But that's what I'm saying. Like, once you realize that it's like that, like in 2023, I was, trying to like build a political movement and trying to create all this change, and then I realized that I would like to do that, but at the same time, giving up on that kind of goal allows me to just look at my life and being like, what can I fix in my immediate vicinity? Like, to me, my family, they're all leftists. They all believe this shit. If I talk to them about what I really feel like, they would call me fascist. But to me, it's more important to just maintain my relation. That's why I can never hate these crazy white ladies. Like, that's what I was trying to say before, was that the right is getting more and more angry with the left and casting them as evil. And while, yes, they do evil things and there are overtly evil people on the left, by and large, they just don't really know any better. So that's why I can never truly hate them, because I'm like, am I going to hate? Am I going to? No, okay, not am I going to hate my family, or am I going to hate myself 10 years ago? Like, would I wish death upon myself 10 years ago when I was a batshit insane leftist? And so, like, having those people in your life, and then also being a part of the leftist Borg, it really does like endow a sense of like empathy. Because like how can you truly like, oh, I'm special? And it's like, well, no, under other circumstances, you'd be advocating for freaking kids to get butchered in the name of trans. So it to me, it gives perspective, so you don't end up hating the other side.
Yeah, because I think what, this is gonna sound weird. I think what happens is you have the correct kind of despair. You look at this, world, and it's like, oh fuck, this is unfixable. But you know what is fixable? Me and everything around me. And I think, and this is going to sound stupid, this is the point of a family. This is the point of people creating their own families, of finding someone, because it's like, yo, this world is insane. There's no way I can fucking fix it. There's no way I can control the opinions of millions of people, but maybe I can influence the opinion of one person to really like me so much that we can create new life together, and that we can raise that new life, preferably in a better way than each of us were treated by our parents, hopefully breaking cycles of addiction and other kinds of things, and other generational, intergenerational curses and generational curses and things like that, and just trying to create a better future by just creating a better family, by just being a good parent, by understanding and having a kid, this is what I've heard, at least increases your capacity for happiness and joy and love and empathy and care and compassion. But what's happening, we're so disconnected from each other that we go online, we go on social media for this, illusion and specter of connection, and it's just most of us, it's just millions of people shouting into the wind.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's
because there's a lot of projection, there's a lot of I don't want to get into all the psychology of it, but it's just a lot of despair, and there would be so much fixed if we just, instead of looking out, we looked in and we looked at ourselves, and it's like, let's work on ourselves. But that's very difficult to work on yourself, because there's ego, there's this entire decades of illusion that you build for yourself.
Do you have the court cases that the Supreme Court thing is based on?
So there's two cases. West Virginia versus BPJ, and Little versus Hecox. I don't know. I've only seen that. I haven't heard that
Yeah.
word being said. Little is from Idaho, and the other one's from West Virginia. They're both based on a state law that is essentially banning trans women and girls from participating in sports. Little is with college level sports, and the West Virginia case is grade school, and they're both I think they're both cross country.
Okay.
And both of them are saying it's the law banning trans athletes is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause, and then the West Virginia case is all saying it's a violation of Title IX.
Okay, and of course it is a violation of Title IX, and Biden made those changes to Title IX to include gender identity, which of course completely destroys the category of woman. Now,
so Title IX is basically what you can't discriminate with women in sports.
Yeah, like you can't. Yeah, like you're not allowed. Yeah, women are allowed to have a place, like have their own sports. But then Biden tried to change it, or did change it, I believe, to also include gender identity, which allows men and boys into women's and girls sports.
So yes, the crux of this is basically if there's a male sport for something, there's a female sport for that.
Now,
and it was at first originally like, okay, so we have all these guys want to play basketball, but like only like 6 women want to play basketball. Yeah, okay, they're gonna play too. And they should get a fair shot. There should be a league for women. And you know what? I'm fully in agreement to that because, pursuit of happiness. If you're a woman and you want to play basketball, like, okay, there should be an avenue. There should be a professional league for you. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that you are legally required to have the same pay and respect that male athletes have.
Do you know that the NBA subsidizes the WNBA loses money every year?
The WNBA is a loss. Of course, it's a loss.
That's why I hate when women talk about how much society hates them. We live in a patriarchy. It's like we do everything in our power to accommodate you broads. Everything. We give you sports leagues that nobody wants to watch.
Like what? Look, like fine. Like if your thing is a WNBA, fine. I have no problem with that.
Have you ever watched the WNBA?
But don't get mad because you don't get paid as much as the NBA stars. And I didn't want to name one because I haven't seen an NBA game in a very long time. But still, like
you could just say LeBron. LeBron's still there somehow.
You don't get the $20 million. You don't get the $100 million. Sorry, unless you are good enough.
Now.
This is the problem. Unless you put butts in seats, and let's be honest, who is the only person that has been relevant to the WNBA? Caitlin Clark. The only person that gave a spark. There's the white privilege again. Well, no, maybe it's because she was a really good athlete.
She's really good. She's a really good athlete. Yeah, and hold on. So those are the two cases that are involved in the Supreme Court case. Now, what kind of on the Supreme Court, right? It's
basically the same case. It's basically like you're not letting these trans you're not letting these boys participate with girls.
Now the Supreme Court, hallowed, esteemed institution where great minds clash and the real issues are what is brought to the front and they're discussed, right? Maybe not so much. Judge Alito, to decide if there is discrimination on the basis of sex under Title IX, we need to define what sex is, right? Leftist Communist Front, ACLU, yes. Alito, what does it mean to be a man or woman, boy or girl? ACLU, we do not have a definition for the court.
All right, case dismissed. Hold on, case dismissed. Bye. It's over. Why are we waiting until summer of 2026 for an answer to this when that is
and then Dan McLaughlin goes on to say here the ACLU lawyer says the plaintiff doesn't need to define male and female. You just look at what the state statute does. That's those I hate. That's one of the things that I hate about this conversation that was going on in the Supreme Court recently is that it's not about like any kind of truth. It's not about any of that. It's just about trying to get the law to apply to your favorite category of quote unquote supposedly marginalized community. It very rarely ever is actually about the truth. So when they're like, well, what's the truth? And they're like, really, the truth doesn't matter, Your Honor. Really, it just doesn't, which is leftism in a nutshell. It doesn't matter what a man or woman are. All that matters is what they want a man or woman to be, which of course they can't even provide a fucking definition for. It's maddening. Absolutely maddening. Imagine like there's that really popular meme about like, you know, what you thought the future would look like, and it's like, you know, futurists like flying cars and all this other shit and stuff, and it's really just like some dude dressed up as a woman saying that he's going to kill himself if he doesn't cut his dick off.
Look, if this is a 5-4 decision, it's over. Like, we're fucked. Like, our the position of like, hey, maybe don't have men and women sports. That's it. That position crumbles. A 5-4 would be a pathetic fucking decision on that.
Yeah. Now, of course, you know, what do you think? My favorite thing is to show normal people what trans women actually look like. This might be one of my favorites. This is a man pretending to be a woman protesting outside of the Supreme Court. It's just some fat old dude.
Oh, are you like the Salvation Army or something with that fucking?
It's just a fat old dude.
You
Dressed as half a woman with like pink, and then you have the Statue of Liberty on, holding the trans flag. That's why I took a family member who is extremely woke, obsessed with LGBTQ status stuff, identifies as queer. I took them to a concert. A big fat hairy guy walked by in a dress, and her first reaction was revulsion. And like she like looked at me and like, what is that? And in my head, I'm like, that's what a trans woman is.
Did you call her a bigot?
I should have. No, I didn't
like, wow, you didn't accept this beautiful, independent woman.
I didn't want to start that conversation. And then of course, we also have this. Of course, you know, everything is.
Can you explain why you're here?
Everything is intersectionality with these people, and they're coming from a place of untruth, right? Their very premise is built on a lie, so it's impossible for them to ever actually defend the position. All they have is obfuscation.
Can you explain why you're here?
Well, I live in the neighborhood. I'm trans, and I have the day off.
No shit.
And this is an important issue. These are important issues to me.
Do you think it's fair for biological males to compete in women's sports?
I think that this is an issue that's being ginned up and brought up to the top of the list of national priorities.
It's one of the things that drives me nuts about leftists is they're like, oh, the right loves to distract with culture wars. The right loves to distract with culture wars. Let us just completely change the culture and how we view reality. What's the big problem? Why do you guys care so much?
You heard the quiver in his voice, like, oh my god.
It's literally just some dude who jerks off at the idea of him being a woman. That's all it is. There's nothing like, there's multiple different reasons why people are trans. You got the perverts. You also have the people that have legitimate, I don't even want to call it gender dysphoria, but you have the phenomenon that is called gender dysphoria, where people feel like to me, it's sort of like, it reminds me of pedophilia or homosexuality, in that they have this undefinable urge to do something, and it's like they need to do it. It's not the same thing, obviously, but in terms of the urge, it is. So you have those people, but you also have young people that are being like inculcated into the ideology and then just choosing it for themselves. Whereas obviously this dude just turned out at like the age 50 and is just a perv. You know, like you have like, there's multiple different types of that's like, the trans people are not a monolith. They're not. The end goals what they want are the same, but like in terms of why they are trans, there's multiple different reasons, and sometimes there's a lot of overlap. But hold on, I think they mentioned so on.
It should not be a national priority at this point. I'm much more concerned about
now men being allowed in women's sports, that should be the national priority. Us saying that men shouldn't be in women's sports, that shouldn't be the national priority. Only the things that they care about should actually be the priority, I would assume.
Pedophile in the White House than I am with trans people and women's sports. I'm more concerned about the wars that this administration is starting, more concerned about climate change and everything else. So, but if they're going to make an issue out of this, I'm here to voice my opinion.
Do you think males have an advantage in sports over females?
Let's talk about climate change. Let's talk about
he's there for one reason. He's there to support men and women's sports, and then when asked if men have a competitive advantage over males over females, then he doesn't want to talk about that thing, even though the very thing that he's there to defend is what's being brought up.
No,
They
man.
can't defend it. They can't defend it.
This guy is there to get head pats and to get nice words and to for people to look at this person and for this person to get attention. Here's the thing. These people don't care how stupid they look. They just care that they have the attention. They're like, ha ha ha. I live rent free in their heads. They try to say whatever they can to justify their stupidity and just like their desperation, like of just, yes, I am correct, or look at me, and that's all it is. Like,
and that's how most trans people are. Like, I don't like to generalize, but I've been involved in like the X/Twitter,
like these activists.
Yeah, but I've been involved in like the X gender critical turf thing forever. One of my best friends is a turf, although she's not really a feminist. She's actually trending more and more right wing, which is great.
Oh no.
It's great. She's every day she wakes up and she's like, it's more and more right wing. It's fantastic. But anytime, even like this person, right? Say you have a based tranny where they don't support trans rights, they're just a cross-dresser who wants to do their own thing. Or even if they used to be trans and now they're detransitioners, and while I do think detransitioners are important because it's important to show the general populace that to be trans is not some sort of fixed identity category, it's like, okay, you're detransed, you're a base troon, like, okay, okay. But the thing is, you really go that route and like think about cutting your dick off or cutting your breasts off, there are a litany of underlying psychological conditions that brought you to that point. And just because you reject the ideology does not mean that you are not a mess of a person. Because anytime these people come into the movement, like the GC movement, and try to like assert themselves as like the base tranny, the base detransitioner, eventually they always crash out. They collapse underneath the weight of their own madness, because just because you're no longer trans or you no longer think you're trans or whatever does not mean those underlying conditions are still not there. It's a big problem. Every time a transsexual person ends up crashing out, a new one sees the opportunity. It's like chum in the water, or it's like chum in the water, and they come in and they try to replace the other one, and then the cycle repeats. Drives me insane. Drives me absolutely insane. I can't think of any two images that are next to each other that could really, really sum up this argument. Nice little girl talking about protecting women's sports. The most normal person in the world. She's probably some track runner. All she wants to do is keep dudes out of her sports. And then on the opposite side, you have some sort of androgynous, probably a man. It's hard to tell sometimes, especially because a lot of them are fat, and it's hard to tell when they troon out because they become androgynous and their facial features become mush because of the obesity, holding a trans flag with the satanic circle over it. It's just too perfect. Nice little girl.
Which way, Western man?
Right. Oh, I should turn this
Yep.
I should turn this into that meme.
Yep.
Oh man. It's just this was interesting, actually. Tim Pool posted this, and it's always funny because like in the Washington Post, the New York Times, they're very like sort of pro-trans, pro-left, but sometimes they allow different editorials to be done that give the opposite position. And this is from the Washington Post with, of course, the very ironic little byline there, or whatever the hell it's called: "Democracy dies in darkness." The Supreme Court has the chance this week to save women's sports, allowing states to restore a level playing field for girls by excluding I hate this phrasing, biological men. I hate that. I understand why they do it, but it gives credence to the fact that there's other types of men. Anyways, by excluding biological men and thereby correcting one of the worst excesses of America's cultural revolution. That's a loaded statement. Okay.
Okay. Why? It's just this seems like an odd statement coming from WAPO.
I know it's from an editorial. I didn't read the whole editorial, and like I said, like they often allow the editorials to trend a little more right. But you could sort of see some of these big organizations feeling it out, trying to kind of see where the culture is going, because these people aren't brave. They're often just creatures of consensus that just bow down to whatever is like the popular thing. But the fact that they're saying they're men, but like I said, biological men is unnecessary. But the fact that they're saying they're men, and then also admitting that it's a cultural revolution, like the phrase cultural revolution, that carries a lot of heft. If you know what the cultural revolution is, the first thing you think of is communist China with Mao.
China. Wait, what happened there? What happened? Cultural Revolution. Oh, wait, was that when the students dragged the teachers out of the schools and struggle session them?
I mean, you got that. You got that to look forward to, which is nice for you. You know.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna
students are mad because they can't propagate their BS in class, so they just beat me on the streets.
I'm picturing little white transgender children creating a gallows to hang a brown person. Have you ever identified yourself unironically as a brown person?
What do you mean?
Do you identify as because the left will go, oh, black and brown people, right? Like, do you actually go like, oh, I'm a brown person?
Well, I mean, yeah, because I'm not white, I'm not black. Like, if someone would ask me, like, "Oh, what are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm brown." But it's like a flippant sort of thing. Like, okay, yeah, I'm Hispanic, but like, okay, there's more to me than that. And I mean, I'm just. Like I said, I live in a weird place. I live in South Florida, so everyone around me is Hispanic. Like, when you said being surrounded by white kids, I don't teach white kids. Like yeah, there's a few there, but like most of them are like half like Cuban or half Cuban, and there's a lot of white features there too. So it's a lot of times it's like, oh, there's a black student. There's an equal chance of them being Hispanic black or American black.
Gotcha. So you adopt like the brown thing as kind of like a colloquial thing just to refer to yourself without all of the intersectional baggage.
And that's the thing. It's also relative. Like, okay, there's a lot of the Hispanic people that are darker than me because my mom's Chilean and she's whiter and she also tans very well because her grandmother's Native American. So like it's really freaking complicated. So like us Hispanic people, we can train our tan. So that's the thing. We're not just one level of brown. We go through different levels, some of us. And it's depending on who you're with, you can be like the whiter person or the darker person. And it's just, it's relative. And so oftentimes when we're within us, like it's just as a joke or it's just something funny because it's like, whatever, like those are the differences we're really looking at. Like we as Hispanic people, we care more about like, oh, you're Colombian, I'm Cuban.
Exactly.
Like that's the difference. But even those differences are stupid. Like we have way more in common than different. Like, oh, I like my version of chicken and rice over your version of chicken and rice. Like, oh, fuck
it's
you.
It's still chicken and rice, guys. It's still chicken and rice.
It's still the same fucking thing that we eat, and we all speak the same language, have similar music, and it's just funny because like it's not that deep.
See, I find that interesting because of like, I mean, like think about like whiteness, white supremacy, the sort of label of white foisted upon people with like white or pink or pale skin, whereas like when we all talk to each other and it's like, oh, like what are your parents? Oh, Swedish, Dutch, Italian, French, Irish. It's really, I was talking to a Muslim guy maybe like a year and a half ago, and we were talking about Gaza, and he's Palestinian. And we were just talking about race and all this other stuff, and he talked about how he felt so angry at what's happening in Gaza because he knows people over there. And he has a sense of pride, like of kinship, that those are his people. And I was like, yeah, no, like I don't really have that so much as a white guy. He's like, yeah, no, you guys don't have that kind of identity, kind of like really at all. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why? I just looked at him and I was like, do I give this guy a 20-minute speech, or do I just say, as I did, it's like about Hitler, it's not a big deal.
I was gonna say, are you just gonna give the Hitler answer?
Yeah, it's Hitler. And then there's like the Confederates and stuff. It's like I do at the time, but we were at a bar and getting drunk, and I didn't feel like going into the dynamics of race relations in the country when it comes to being white. Telling
them the 3-word answer: the Confederates, Hitler.
Yeah, it's basically Confederates Hitler. Confederates, slavery, Hitler, Jews. That's basically it. We also now we're getting into the sort of meat and potatoes
White
of this.
people get no groups because of that. Yep, you're done.
Yep. Well, don't worry. The white people are getting a group. However, it's
no.
it's gonna it's an angry group. It's an angry group.
No,
Angel.
no, don't do that. This is like, hey, Germany, don't build boats over this length. Got it. Okay. Let's build 100 boats. Let's go.
Like, what do you get when you have an entire generation of Gen Zs and especially Gen Alphas when they go, yeah, but Hitler, the Holocaust, and the Confederacy? What do you get when you have a bunch of those kids that just go, yeah, no, we just don't care? That
was a long ass time ago. Go fuck yourself. Oh, okay. You're a racist. Yeah. So what? Oh, fuck. Okay, this is bad. None of our old tricks work. Shit. Okay, we gotta slap these people. We gotta re-educate these people.
And now we're getting to the actual court that was going on, that was being heard at the Supreme Court. This is great. A rebuttal from Michelle Williams, Solicitor General of West Virginia. So everyone, blah 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 blah. So here, this is Michelle Williams, which is hilarious because Michelle Williams looks like a dude, but good for her. Here,
it was Michael Williams.
No, I think it's Michelle. Hold on.
So, rebuttal, Mr. Williams.
I think you've now heard respondent.
Oh, it is. Is it Michael Williams?
Yeah, go up.
Oh, that's hilarious. I'm just so used to discussing troonery. I'm so used to discussing troonery that I saw what I thought was a masculine-looking woman.
Name and you transit, like you just troon it out, like fuck this. I'm done.
They've queered my perception. They've queered my perception of reality. They fucking.
Oh man.
Rebuttal, Mr. Williams.
I think you've now heard respondent abandon the Fourth Circuit's logic on Title IX, and I think in many ways that makes this court's task that much easier. Congress authorized regulations allowing sex-separated athletics. West Virginia's definition of sex tracks the ordinary meaning in 1972 and 1974 and the regulatory framework that Congress endorsed. I think, Mr. Chief Justice, your question really highlighted how BPJ's approach unmoors the statute and the regulation under Title IX from on the basis of sex. BPJ's test in turn begins to look more towards other characteristics that aren't on the basis of bylaw.
This is what drives me nuts. You control the institutions, you control the language, you get the institutions to change the language by including gender identity as a protected characteristic, blur the lines between sex and gender to the point where now you have to control the institutions in order to change the laws to take back the language and take back the definitions of terms.
So I think you're right.
It's insane.
One before you go on, I think I did very little, and I mean by very little, like less than 5 minutes. But I think I don't know, hopefully he mentions it and goes deeper, but I think the ultimate goal of the trans activists is to change the definition of womanhood to a level of testosterone, because what that produces is basically like a knob and a dial that they can turn at any point by editing the law and essentially turning womanhood into something that they can gamify just by shoving, you with testosterone. So I think that is, if they want to get to a definition of what it means to be a woman, it's going to be that sort of thing. It's going to be T level.
That does seem that it would be more malleable for their purposes.
It's extremely malleable, and I think there is precedent of already. I think the rules in the Olympics having something like that.
Yeah, there is something like that. Yeah, I mean the ultimate goal is to destroy all categories, but of course, you have to do it incrementally.
Progressive.
Yeah, incremental progressivism.
Sex, and I think that's not consistent with what we see there. I also think the answer to Justice Barrett's question reflected how, under BPJ's theory, this really isn't about competitive advantage, that really what this does turn on is gender identity, because BPJ continues to maintain that a cisgender boy who continues to not have those same biological advantages would nevertheless still be kept off of the boy.
I'm going to keep playing it, but that annoys me that you, in order to have the conversation, you have to temporarily play within their frame. The fact that we're using the term cisgender is already a step too far. Insane.
Of the girls' sports team. So if you endorse that philosophy, that would require the court to hold that long-standing Title IX athletic regulations are unlawful. It would eliminate sex-separated athletics entirely, and I think it would defeat Title IX's core purpose of ensuring equal athletic opportunity for both sexes. On the equal protection side of the house, The question is whether the classification is substantially related to an important governmental interest. And I think that BPJ ultimately wants to rewrite the classification to be something that it is not. Biological sex substantially relates to athletic performance. That's exactly why, in fact, Title IX regulations authorize sex-separated teams in the first place. Respondent's test effectively ratchets up the intermediate scrutiny standard into a perfect fit, best disposition case that this court has repeatedly said is not the standard under intermediate scrutiny cases. That is the standard for strict scrutiny cases. You have heard it several times today. Justice Sotomayor, you asked about deference. I think this court has also repeatedly recognized that in areas of evolving science and medicine, especially involving children, legislatures have the primary responsibility for weighing competing evidence and making the policy judgments. I think the court just recently said that in Scrimeti, but I certainly don't think that case stands alone in recognizing that, especially when you have competing balances of harms, Justice Kavanaugh, when you're weighing these sorts of zero-sum games, that's a choice, that's a policy judgment that ultimately rests in the hands of the legislature. In the end, this court has, quote, recognized physical differences between men and women. They are enduring, and inherent differences between men and women are cause for celebration. That is all that West Virginia's law does here. It should be upheld. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. The case.
I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, solid. Gender identity? No, that's unacceptable.
Yeah. It's just I don't know, it's just a
You know what? You know what? It feels like we don't understand like cause and effect. Like, fine, you know what? Like, I can't believe this is an argument. Fine, you know what? Let's just let whomever participate in whatever they want. Let's let all the failed boys in the male league just participate in the female league. That's what's going to happen. Like, that is the inevitable prognosis of this system that is going to be created. You're going to have the A team for boys and the B team for boys and exceptional girls. That's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like, do you just want co-ed sports? Like, is that your goal, that you eventually just want, you're just going to force every NBA team to have a woman on the court at all times? Like, is that what you're going to fucking do?
And like, to me, so a lot of the times the arguments around this kind of stuff frustrates me because I'm an impatient person, and I like to dig into the issue and then get to the root of it, right? The actual like root. And at the end of the day, to me, obviously, men having competitive advantages over women, the fact that obviously the people that are the number one threat to women are men, right? They commit and then men have a monopoly on the violence. There's all this other stuff, but like at the end of the day though, like, men aren't women. That's why, like, whenever I argue with someone, it seems like, to me, I think that to them sometimes it seems as if it's like simplistic, and I could argue all of this stuff, but to me I just like to get to the core of it, and I'm just like, well, they're not women. That's why when somebody goes, oh, well, this institution says this about this, right? They do to appeal to authority. And I go, well, they're crazy. And this is like a liberal who's saying this to me. Like, what do you mean they're crazy? They're a prestigious institution. I'm like, well, no, they think the men are women. Like, when you have just like the very simple truth on your side, it's very easy to just dismiss everything away. That's why at the end of, like, you have to eventually, like, you just have to enforce it. Like, how are you going to, like, how long are you going to argue about this as opposed to just being like, well, no, shut up, just do
yeah,
what I
like
want.
if you have a Nobel Prize in a science, and you're like, men can be women, what should immediately happen is just, an arm just appears, like a robotic arm just grabs your Nobel Prize and just fucking yanks it away and just disappears into the ether. Like, that's what should happen, because it's like, you have not said something so unscientific and stupid.
And then this video is a former Idaho State cross country runner, Madison Kenyon. Yeah, and apparently she talked to CNN about the transgender debacle. It's always funny too, because whenever they show like the people pushing for like men and women's sports, it's always like I think that there could be lots of people with bad physiognomy that are sort of dysgenic looking that are good people. However, it just so happens that the majority of people pushing for this on like the grassroots level are like dysgenic looking people. Whereas like think about the people who are like the face of the anti-trans movement. You have like Chloe Cole, you have Riley Gaines, you have all these like very normal, attractive looking normal women that oppose this. Meanwhile, you have like some like dysgenic mutant that
Wow,
you would have.
you said Riley Gaines is normal and or attractive. You white supremacist, Jesus Christ! Like,
Wait, why? Why?
What a
What?
white supremacist? You think white features are pretty? That's just you're basically Hitler adjacent at that point.
Guilty.
I'm joined now by former Idaho State cross-country runner Madison Kenyon and the president.
Normal, nice looking girl. I would love for like the opposition to have been there while she was talking.
And CEO of Alliance Defending Freedom, Kristen Wagner. Thank you so much to both of you for joining me. I know you've been in court today listening to and watching these arguments. Madison, first off to you, tell us why this is so important to you.
Oh man, well, I went to Idaho State University on a track and cross country scholarship where I raced a male athlete in the women's division many times, and I lost every time along with hundreds of other women. I saw a teammate pushed off a podium, and I know that that roster spot didn't go to a woman.
I'm assuming she means metaphorically, but I am picturing a giant man actually pushing one of them off the podium. That's what's running through my head right now.
Yep.
Get out of there. I won.
And after seeing that and knowing that this is not fair, I stood up to protect these sports that gave me so much, gave me my education. And it's not fair for women to compete against men. It ruins the integrity of women's sports.
What were the conversations like with athletes when you were competing against a trans athlete? Were there various perspectives that you were getting?
It was pretty consistent across the line that it's unfair for a woman to step on the line against a male. It's like you haven't started the race, but the result has already been decided. And running's a mental sport. If you think that, then that's what happens. And we're collegiate athletes. We're not participating for a participation trophy. We're sacrificing every single day to go out and race and to beat the odds.
And Madison, is there room to stand behind your concerns about fairness, which, like I said, when you look at polling, there are a lot of Americans who share your concerns. And
most of Americans.
The majority of them do when it comes to
there you go.
Sports. Is there room, though, to stand behind those concerns and still empathize with trans students who want to have school experiences that can be so character and community building? And how do you approach that?
I think it's really important.
That's why I love that. That's all they have to rely on. It's like, but don't you care about little Jimmy that wants to race against little Tiffany? Aren't you upset that little Jimmy's going to be
then
upset?
have your own trans fucking league.
No, that's it. I was talking about that in the space the other day, and
Have your own league.
One of the trannies talked about having transsexual leagues. And I'm like, where the fuck is the market for that? There's a bunch of dysgenic men with missing dicks racing against you. And then what do you do? Do the trans women and the trans men each get their own league? And then do the non-binaries just get to seamlessly transition in between the two leagues depending on how they feel at that particular time of the day? That's why when you really look at it, it's just a complete no tolerance policy. You can't give an inch, because the second you give an inch, you start thinking about all the insane ways in which to accommodate these people. You can't give an inch.
So this is how you do it. Chess has done it correctly. You have two divisions. You have a women's division, which is strictly like biological women, and then you have an open division where anybody can join. And then who wins? The men.
That's what's always so funny. I've always,
you want to nerf yourself and trune yourself? Fine. Join the open division. There you go. That's what's going to happen.
It's always so funny because a lot of growing up, and I'm not big on using terms like misogyny and misandry, but growing up, what was sort of inculcated into me was that sort of like men are like sort of simple creatures. And then growing up and like looking at what men participate in, and I was like, well, I don't know, like you get old enough and you start digging into war and war history, and you become very learned on that. All of the men are the ones that are taking up in the STEM field, which requires extreme types of like cognitive ability. And then all of the men are also the ones that are participating in very complex philosophy. Like the women do too, but like men will just read philosophy that doesn't have any sort of gender-based bent. It just happens to be written by men, whereas women most likely will usually sort of drift towards feminist philosophy. So like this idea that men are like simple-minded creatures was something that was, like I said, really great, ground into my head as a kid. And then I grew up and I'm like, wait, that's not true at all.
We want to be, we want to be simple-minded, but then we have to do things like the Berlin airlift and we have to do complicated logistics shit, okay, you want to say that men are simple creatures? We invented logistics so we could transport stuff anywhere. You're welcome.
Yeah. The idea that women can do everything that men do and be just as good at it. It's like that old joke about how if you tell a feminist that men are usually stronger than women, and then they'll point out to like the one woman, and it's like, well, no, on average. It's very frustrating.
Exactly that, Bob. Like that. That's so annoying. Oh yeah, but some women are stronger. It's like, okay, we have to go through like a billion people to get to that point, and then even still, that woman will be destroyed in any measure of strength to a top guy. And have we not seen enough videos of teenage boys wrecking professional women in sports to know this already? Right? Haven't we seen enough one-on-ones in tennis with like top players?
Serena Williams versus
a 40-year-old guy smoking cigarettes between like sets. Like I think I'm exaggerating on that part, but no, you're not going to get the top WNBA player versus the top NBA player and think the woman has any chance of winning. Like, we need to stop this.
That's the sort of the collapsing of categories and distinctions. That's like at the root. That is the root of the leftist project. It's all about collapsing all the different distinctions and wearing away at those and turning us all into this sort of flavorless, tasteless gray paste, or flavorless gray paste. It just bugs me because like it wears away at things that are fundamentally true. And what's probably the most beautiful thing about men and women is that when like you're in harmony, if a man and a woman are in harmony and accept the things that they're good at and that they're bad at, and then pick the slack up for one another, it's probably the most beautiful thing in existence and actually furthers the human race. So the fact that they hate that more than anything and want to wear away at that, to me, that's so profoundly evil, which is why I don't like feminism. But it's very hard to talk to progressive and point that out because they don't really view reality and nature as having fundamental truths in it. They don't view it that way, so they don't view it as evil. Whereas to me, it's like I look at it and I see Satan. It's like what I see.
Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking there is a very practical solution to this, in theory, of course.
Camps?
No,
don't put people in camps.
No, fat camps maybe. Camps for fat people where oh god, I love that meme where it's like people in the crane, and then there's like slats or like enough room that you can only go through when you've gotten sufficiently skinny enough.
Oh, that's one of the best memes out there. Just put them in the camp. Put them in the camp, and once they're skinny enough to get out, then they go out and be a part of society.
Just waddle on through and
waddle.
You graduated. Congratulations. Here's your bag of Cheetos. But here, I have a very practical solution. You know those like like strength machines at like Dave and Buster's and stuff that you like hit a hammer and then it lights up. So but you basically you basically put someone in a chair, and then you launch that person based on the strength of who used the hammer and slammed it there. So how you can really see the difference between the strength between men and women would just get an average regular guy and do that to all of these activists. And then when a woman does that and they barely go anywhere, okay, there we go. There's a difference. Now, actually, just to as a quick story, there's this idea that exists in many women, not just women on the left, but also many women who are moderates and on the right. I remember, and this idea gets dispelled very easily, but because, you know, in our society we tend to treat women a little better than other societies, there's a lot of women who have not experienced violence from men or strength from men. And my ex told me, and you know, she's like, for 13 years of my life, for 14 years, I thought, you know, boys and girls were the same, especially because she was a very tall girl, like Hispanic, and you're 5'10", 5'11", like that's a giant basically.
Yeah.
And so she's always been very strong. And then, you know, like very Christian household. And she had an older brother. And, you know, they would play fight, but he would never go at full power. Never. Like he would never even dare. Until one day she's like, do it. Go full power. And she told me that he did for a second, and she's never been more terrified in her life. She did not understand how incredibly weak she is against any average man, even someone shorter than her. I think she had a later experience of like a shorter guy like restraining her or something. She's like, what the fuck? How is this possible? I'm taller. It's like, yeah, but you didn't factor in density.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the thing, like if you're a woman and you've ever, like, obviously not hit, but like if you've ever been pushed by a guy, like, you know, not even a violent way, just a friendly way, like I'm gonna throw you into the pool kind of thing, and if the guy uses his full strength, you're like, oh shit, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and of course, these are all these what we're discussing here. These are luxury beliefs that percolated in the colleges and like different think tanks for years. And what happens when you have luxury beliefs that clash with reality once they're introduced to the populace? Well, you see what happens. It like severely clashes with reality, and the reality just immediately pushes back.
Yeah, and or you had this, like this was a trope on this was, I'm sure this was a trope, like you're with your girlfriend, like, oh, we're play fighting, and you know, you accidentally like push too hard, or like, you know, hit her too hard with the pillow, and she's like, yo, what the fuck? And it's like, oops, sorry, I used 2% of my power, sorry. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, but I'm exaggerating, but still, like,
I get it.
Most women do not experience men using their full strength on them on a daily basis, so it's kind of like, it's a thing people don't consider.
Yeah, and this next part of this video cracks me up because this right here, this is what drives feminists insane. Like the CNN pundit or whatever interviewer is asking her basically about how it might hurt a man's feelings to not be allowed to participate in sports with her, which drives every feminist insane, and justifiably so, because they're like, why should I care about the feelings of some man that wants to participate in what I'm trying to do? I want to hear what she says, because this is always the trap, right? Well, yeah, it's like you're 100% right on the issue, but what about that guy who wants to cut his dick off? Aren't you concerned with how he feels?
To understand that when women compete against women, it is fair. When you put a man in women's athletics, it's not fair. And women have nowhere else to go. If you take away the fairness in our sports, we literally have nowhere else to go. But when men compete against men, it is fair. And when women compete against women, it is fair. And so in order to protect the opportunities that I had in college.
Isn't it so sad that a young woman, maybe she's probably like early 20s here, that she has to explain things as if you're explaining things to a toddler?
To get a scholarship, to get an education. For all of the future generations of women, it is so important that we can recognize that women should only compete against women.
No, and understanding that is your position and that people share that with you. How do you see the issue of including trans people?
My dear God.
In school activities, in the community, in a way that makes them feel included?
It's the same question. How aren't you concerned with placating delusional men and boys? It's the same question. She's reiterating the same question in a different, like, if I was this girl, like, she must be looking at her like she's a moron. Oh my God.
Because I will say, looking at this, you'll hear, and we had someone on the other side of this issue on the program last hour. There's certainly a feeling of being excluded.
Oh,
that's the point.
Make your own fucking league then.
Not even that. That's the point of women's sports. It's specifically designed to exclude men and give women a place where they can compete in a funny little show, even though there's a lot of great women athletes out there. For instance, this girl, I'm an out of shape 40-year-old guy. She could probably whoop my ass in track and field, or if that, I think that's what she's participating in. But it's just like the same thing. Don't you care about their feelings? The fact that this is the discourse on this issue, it's why they can't even debate it out loud, because it's so absurd. They could only rely on
They just
one
have to
thing.
go to your feelings and things like that. And I was gonna say, oh, that girl, I can take her maybe for like 5 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even.
So I
I'm
just
not even
wonder
quick
from sort of your point of view, how just on a very human level you see that.
I think it's important to see that anyone should participate in sports, but sports is based on biology, and that's why it's important that women only compete against women. So anyone can play sports, but where is it most fair? And for women, that's only against women.
And can I just add, I mean, this idea of kindness and compassion, we should be extending that to all people, no matter how they identify. And we shouldn't be making differences on the basis of how someone identifies if that's not relevant to the particular inquiry. I think the other big piece to put there is, you said, how do they feel? Well, I want to focus on the harm to the girls, because even in the case before the Supreme Court, over 420 girls have been displaced 1,100 times and lost 57 medals to the boy at the heart of the case. So let's talk about how those 400 girls are feeling in this moment.
Yeah, and certainly there are a lot of people who have a lot of feelings in this issue.
Just nothing.
Nice
They just have absolutely nothing.
You do have nothing. It's supposed to be like, oh, well, you're supposed to sacrifice yourself because of rights for other people. See, here's the thing. It was really easy to be like, hey, white people sit down so we can have more black people at jobs. Men sit down so more women can have work. It's very easy to say that, but you can't be like, women sit down so fucked up guys can feel better about themselves. That's where you draw the line. And this is the problem with leftism is at first it's nice. It's like, Obama's like, hey, pre-existing conditions. Yeah, all that stuff. And suddenly we pay a lot for health insurance. And we tend to forget this is Obama's fix is our current problem. And before you play this video, I'm trying to, as when we were black-pilled earlier on, I was trying to think of an appropriate quote. I'm going to butcher it or just explain instead of having a quote. But it's like, in world politics, there are no solutions. There are only problems that get delayed or get transformed. Like, that's all that happens.
Yeah. All right, wait, are you just describing dialectics right now?
No, I was just thinking of like,
that's what it sounds like to me.
I don't know, maybe, but I was just thinking of like world political conflicts, like the threat of war. Okay, you can have the war and then you have a peace treaty, and then eventually in a few decades, those countries are probably going to go to war again for different reasons. And even if you delay the war, all you do is either deflect it, create an alliance to counterbalance some other country, or have a war with someone else. Like, that's what I mean, is you don't actually solve conflicts or problems. You either delay them or deflect them.
Yeah, I'd like to believe this will be solved eventually. And then of course we have,
has abortion been solved?
No.
All right then.
Then we have, of course, a woman that could only be described as Biden.
Wait, the greatest Supreme Court justice ever?
Biden openly admitted that he was. It's so crazy to me. If you're it's insane to me that the incentive is to announce you're going to look for a black woman, as opposed to just like, if I was the Democrats and I wanted to create an uplifting story for young black women who could pursue a career in law and just black people in general, I get it. I don't like the whole inclusive representation thing for multiple different reasons, which we've gone on through here. But I do understand that if you're like a little black girl and your identity is based around being a black woman, to see a black woman on screen and in a position means something to you. Like, I get that. But if you wanted to do that, wouldn't you have brought in a black woman, an Asian woman, a couple of white ladies, and a black woman, and then have the black woman go up against the other ethnicities? And even if you were already predetermined you were going to choose the black woman, wouldn't you have wanted to present it like that to show that a black woman can beat out other groups of ethnicities that have already made it onto the court? The fact that they only looked at black women and announced it was going to be with a black woman, it's so, what's the word I'm looking here for? Like, demeaning, degrading. Like, it's like when James Lindsay went and prayed at the Wailing Wall and that somehow made Jewish people happy. To me, that makes a mockery of the faith. To me, this makes a mockery of black women achieving something. And the way they look at it is the black women are achieving something over other groups.
like promoting people like this like puts down actual competent Black women. Like like example, you can think whatever you want about this person. Condoleezza Rice was a very competent woman. She was a
she's
competent
a
operator.
shark, man. She knew
You
politics.
you might hate her for whatever reason, but competent person. Colin Powell, competent person.
Yeah.
Like Clarence Thomas, very competent person. But like we need it's just this is why we need open categories in every sport, and the open category is the top category.
Yep.
That's the one everyone watches.
Let's
It
hear
doesn't have
what-
to be men. Just open it to everybody. If trans people are superior, then all the male sports will be taken over by troons. Okay, fine. Maybe that's the truth. Just try it out. But no, this is the problem. Deep down, they fucking know they're weak, failed men, and the only people they can beat are biological women. That's plain and simple. That's what it is. If you had the cojones, which you don't because you're cutting them off, you would just stick with the men. Because you're superior, because you're better, because this they them is better than being a he she or whatever, or he him or she her. Like, okay, fine. You want to talk about how you're superior because you've been blessed with the two spirit? Show me.
It's just so insulting. But I want to hear what she has to say. There's a lot of Katanji coming up because she's often the star of these for all the wrong reasons.
I have a chart that is very relevant to this.
Okay. Oh, is it the talking one?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. We'll do that next.
Yes.
We're indifferent to a person's gender identity and applying the law.
But the law actually operates differently, I think, for cisgender women and transgender women. That is, with respect to their desire to play on a team that matches their gender identity. Cisgender women can do it.
See, now, of course, she's a woke queer ideologue, so she views these cis women, aka women, as having the gender identity of a woman, and the trans woman also has the gender identity of a woman. So if the regular women identify as women and compete in the sport based on that, then why can't the trans women? It's creating an unfair imbalance in her mind. This is like, how can you talk to people that live in a completely different reality? How do you convince her, be like, gender identities don't exist? You just are that thing. It's psychotic.
Transgender women cannot. And so we do appreciate a distinction, I think, that is being drawn on the basis of your gender status, gender identity status, trans or cis, right?
So, and I want to make sure I understand if we're operating in Title IX world or equal protection world, because I think it might make a difference to the answer. But
okay, let's start with Title IX.
So Title IX, I think the question of, I look at this statute and see a distinction between boy and girl indifferent to gender identity. And I think that...
Right, but I'm testing that proposition, right? You see that distinction, and I see it too on the separation of teams level at the beginning.
Right, and I think what I'm hearing is that distinction arises from a difference in effect, and I don't see a disparate impact analysis that's sort of hidden away in Title IX.
But why is that a difference in effect? So it's like a second order discrimination, right? The first order is separating male from female.
Right.
The second order is separating transgender women from cisgender women, right?
Respectfully, I would disagree.
No.
This is a woman who did not rightfully achieve her place. She's very obviously placed there to be like a woke ideologue. And she's operating based off of a fantasy category and trying to act as if a regular woman identifies as a woman, just as a transgender woman identifies as a woman. And so it's unfair to separate the two. Like, how do you not, what does it take to impeach this person? It's as if, like, if they had created new fake science to suggest that the earth was flat, and then she was arguing a case in which someone identified that the earth was flat, but the other person identified as the earth was not flat. And you're discriminating against the person who thinks that the earth is flat because they identify as looking at the world as flat.
Jeez, this is
You're
horrible.
indifferent to.
I just don't. And like, liberals will hear this and they just go, oh, yep. And of course, it's because all the institutions say that what she's saying is correct. They cannot wrap their heads around the fact that the institutions that they trust so much can fall to such an insane ideology. They have to believe that it's true. Even if they know that it's not true, they have to believe that it's true because they've been trained to think that the experts are the ones that could actually tell them what is true. Before you show that chart, I want to go through a little bit more, Katanji, because that chart will be a perfect end.
No, I know. Here's the thing. I want you to make your full argument about Katanji, and then I have a very powerful, multifaceted counterpoint.
Okay.
You have the overarching classification. Everybody has to be play on the team that is the same as their sex at birth. But then you have a gender identity definition that is operating within that, meaning a distinction, meaning that for cisgender girls,
cisgender, I take offense to that. Is that like a brown hair person that identifies? Yeah, listen, she said, so is a cisgender person? Yeah, she does. I mean, she misspoke, but is a cisgender person a person with black hair but identifies as a person with red hair? Let's hear that again.
On the team that is the same as their sex at birth. But then you have a gender identity definition that is operating within that, meaning a distinction, meaning that for cisgender girls, they can play consistent with their gender identity. For transgender girls, they can't.
So I think that, okay. So as to the part about your ability.
Really quick.
Oh my God. No, he was like, oh my God, this is the most retarded thing I've heard. That's why he was stuttering and stammering.
How do you respond to something like your first inclination is to be like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's why. Hold on. Well, how is he responding to it?
I think that's what we heard.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God.
I just like it's just how do you? It's like trying to explain to a child why the sky isn't purple.
That's terrible.
And of course, this is all downstream from this classically
provide a
viral moment.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
Which is hilarious because that's a deeply transphobic comment and actually conflicts with what she's saying, because under her ideology, as she said, what makes a woman is not biology, it is merely identifying as a woman. It was hilarious. A bunch of the gender ideologues and like trans radical activists were freaking out about that because they talked about how it's deeply transphobic. But how do you? It's not even. You can't argue. You can't argue with people like this. How do you just have to tell them no? What do you do? What do you do with people like this? How do you get through to people like this other than just exerting your own will and power over them and making them do what you want to do? This was a really good one. So this is also, I really love the fact that the transgender the person who was the plaintiff or whatever, it's Lindsay, right? So Lindsay is a man and his name is Hecox. It's like God has a sense of humor, my friend.
This is too on the nose.
Hecox, right?
Oh my God.
I would love it. I would love it if the other person was a man pretending to, or no, a woman pretending to be a man, and her name was like She Pussy or something. That'd be fantastic.
Oh my God.
Wait, so this is Alito talking to this insane person advocating on behalf of a man trying to participate in women's sports. This was in Idaho, and now they're at the Supreme Court.
Well, to pick up on the issue of discrimination on the basis of transgender status, let me just go to some basics. Do you agree that a school may have separate teams for a category of students classified as boys and a category of students classified as girls?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition? For equal protection purposes, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone.
See, it's not about what's true. It's about how the government and the officials view the thing. So whatever they say is true in law is what makes it true. I hate it. It's the blatant appeal to authority. If they tell you it's true, that just means that it's true. It's just like Nazi Germany in so many ways. I want to hear what she says.
Was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court, and we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies in practice is to exclude birth sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
I think here we just know that we basically know that that they've identified pursuant to their own statute, Lindsay qualifies as a birth sex male, and she's being excluded categorically from the women's teams as the statute. So we're taking the statute's definitions as we find them, and we don't dispute them. We're just trying to figure out, do they create an equal protection problem?
All right, suppose this.
Dear Lord.
The infinite patience of that man.
Well,
right? I just, is just, I don't know. It's just, it's, I don't know. There's nothing else to be said. You want to bring up the Ketanji Brown clip?
So you have a lot of good points, and here's my counterpoint.
All right, hold on. I'll bring it up.
So words spoken by each justice in their first 8, I'm guessing, oral arguments. So what this clearly shows is that the best Supreme Court justice by far is Ketanji Brown Jackson. She has, dude, she says the most things. She has the most to say. She's the most inquisitive. She inquiries the most. She's the most interested in the law. Obviously, that's why she's talking the most. Duh, right? Like, isn't that what it is?
I mean, this is a white supremacist dream. For years. For years.
This is a manosphere's dream right here. Right
it
here.
Really is.
Right here. Manosphere's dream.
So think about it. It's like all these women, they're dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. These black women are being hired for jobs they don't deserve, and they talk too much. And then in comes a gift wrapped in a bow of Ketanji Brown Jackson. I'm telling you, it's like a psychological operation done by the Democrats to make people more racist. It's sexist.
Look, I have a different point. This is a statistically significant sample. This is incredible data that we have here. So, okay, trolling aside, what we see here is obviously there. Just through this, we can obviously see a significant difference in men and women. Women talk more than men. As you can see here, how many women are there on the Supreme Court? 4. Okay, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Amy Coney Barrett, Sonia Sotomayor, and Elega Kagan. Oh my God, the people who speak the most. And then it's John Roberts. Okay, it makes sense that John Roberts talks a lot. He's the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dude, Clarence Thomas, 96, just cold-blooded. That is a man who chooses his words. Have you ever seen the footage when he was being like interviewed with the Supreme Court?
He is the one who knocks.
Have you seen the footage of him when he was being interviewed for the Supreme Court when Joe Biden interviewed him?
I did not.
Oh man, it's just so the Democrats did not want him up there, and they brought out, I can't remember her name, but they brought up this whole thing about this woman, I think, that he was having an affair or something like that. They basically tried everything in their power to smear him. And Joe Biden made these weird, creepy, like accusatory statements about how he knows what's really going on, but he wouldn't say what's going on. I watched the documentary with Clarence Thomas, and it showed that footage, and it cuts to Clarence Thomas like in the current year, I think maybe like 2023, and he was like, "Yeah, I still don't know what the fuck he was talking about."
Oh my god.
Oh, it's just, I don't know. I love Clarence Thomas. Everyone tries to shit at him because I guess he takes gifts from people or whatever. But all I ever see from Clarence Thomas is obviously barely any talk, almost all action, and he's purely interested in what is constitutional.
Dude, like this is the thing. Like when Clarence Thomas speaks, that must be one of the most terrifying experiences as a lawyer ever. Because it's like, oh no, I'm dealing with a professional. I'm dealing with one of the scariest law wizards in the country. Like he knows so much.
He must, like, Ketanji Brown Jackson. It's not an over exaggeration to say that she represents everything that is antithetical to Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is conservative. He's a constitutionalist. He's a black man that the Democrats hate because Democrats hate it when black people disagree with them. They hate it to the core of their being. They call them coons and Uncle Toms. He does not care that he's black in the way that the Democrats care that people are black. Like he goes against everything that they look for in a black person. And Ketanji Brown Jackson is everything. She's the quintessential like stereotype of like what a right-wing person says that the left looks for in a black person, which is the opposite of Thomas.
I mean, I'm trying to be as neutral as possible, but it's like if a Supreme Court justice speaks to you or asks you a question, it should be a very somber thing. It should be like, oh fuck, I didn't consider that, or oh man, there should be intimidation and fear, not in a bad way, but in a respect. Respecting a rival or respecting someone. I don't know how that exactly works, but like respecting someone in that sort of situation, because like they're supposed to be the best of the best. They're supposed to be the best of the federal judges that we have. At least that's the idea. Yep. And then when you have people who talk too much and try to, I don't know, put in their flavor of what the law should be or things like that, or say stupid things that gets the opposing lawyers to grimace and cringe and guffaw, and it's like, wait, what you're actually doing is destroying the legitimacy and the respect and the honor that the Supreme Court has. So maybe talk less.
And it's also, the transactionalists always lie. The goal, of course, is the difference of biology and gender identity. That's a lie. It's them just placating you in the moment. The full purpose of what they're doing is to override biological sex in favor of gender identity, which we can see here, right? It doesn't matter to Ketanji that you have biological women versus biological men who have a gender identity. In her mind, all that matters is that they both identify as a woman, because she views the biological woman as having a gender identity. So it's very clear that the project is to have gender identity override biological sex. That's why you can't give them an inch, because it's like, where they're trying to go with it. You just spray them with a bottle, like a Windex bottle, and be like, no.
Oh my God. I just think of the Malay video. You can't give them an inch.
Left arms,
they're pieces of shit.
He's like, they will kill you.
Yeah, no, it's most definitely true.
It is. And then we also have the day after. We're going to wrap up here soon, but this is the day after the oral arguments were held at the Supreme Court. You have a liberal / leftist doctor talking to, I think it's the Missouri, or the representative from Missouri, conservative Josh Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you bring it up, why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the
The
question
goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get pregnant?
many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you, you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes, no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes, no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence.
Now I'm going to go ahead and criticize him there. He said, "Can biological men get pregnant?" Right there, he's playing into their
That's
trap.
fine. That's the thing. You so like if they're gonna do that, you can't just repeat the question. Like that's the problem. What he should have done is been like, "What are you talking about? Yes or no questions. If I throw this object in the air, will it fall to the ground? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Science question.
But she could have
then get pregnant.
I know, but he like kind of, if she was smart, he kind of, when he said, "Can biological men get pregnant?" by her own ideology, she would have said no. But people who identify as men can get pregnant. That is, I hate how they have to
No,
constantly.
but that's the thing. You want them to say something like that. So it's like, oh, it's because if I'm a girl and I think I'm a
That's
guy,
true.
therefore men can get pregnant. Yes, you want the normie to hear that answer. You want the normie to hear that answer because it's a further capitulation. Because that's the thing. Remember, this is progressivism. You can't break these barriers. It's like an onion. This shit's like a 7-layered onion. You can't just break their entire reality, just like they've built their bullshit over the last few decades in institutions and with their lies and infiltrating all these different sciences and things like that. We have to break through in return.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So I'm asking you, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
what you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question. it sounds like.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing.
That's basically, it just goes on like that for another 2 minutes.
Bro, like like this contempt of Congress. Go sit in jail for a few days. Like fucking answer the question. Like
this is good timing. 5-year-old brought in to explain difference between boys and girls to Supreme Court. That's pretty funny.
You know what? Like, I have to say the Babylon Bee, like, continuously, they fully replaced the Onion. The Onion had a really good run in trolling people and coming up with horrible things and stupid headlines. And yeah, Babylon Bee, keep on doing you. Like, they still come out with hilarious things.
Yeah. Now the thing is, though, is that they almost sometimes get rendered.
With her eyes.
Yeah, no, those are SSR eyes. SSR eyes is how they say it.
SSR eyes.
Now, I need you. Okay, so I love it because, like, the implications when thought out about basically
Yo,
outlawing.
she needs to sleep. Look at them eyes.
Yeah, it's real bad. But they have these like kind of remind me of those women that like constantly reference the Handmaid's Tale or whatever. They have like these like persecution fetishes. Look at her thought process here.
And for those of you celebrating the Supreme Court's ruling of what a woman is, what's going to happen when you, a cis woman, get stopped by police because they believe you're trans? Well, I'm not trans, officer. Here's my identification. Oh, I don't believe you. You look trans to me. So what can he do then? He can touch you. He can look at you. He can make you take your pants off to show him, to expose yourself. And if you don't, he can put you in jail. Who the fuck does that protect?
Bro,
Because it's
what
certainly
kind
not
of fantasies does this person have? Whoa.
What? No, but okay, first off, okay, so a man who's trying to enter in women's sports would present his ID, and it's like, well, are you a woman? It's like, well, no, my ID, because you don't allow me to identify as a woman on my ID anymore. It says I'm a man. Okay, we'll get out. But for some reason, a cop is going to stop a woman and then for no reason ask if she's trans.
Dude, fucking hell.
It's just the oh man, just the delusional line of thinking. Like I understand why people say democracy has failed. I do understand that. Like this person, it's terrifying that she could vote. It's absolutely,
dude. Okay, that reminds me of this tweet from Bug Girl.
Wait, Bugman Hagel or Bug Girl?
No, Bug Girl.
Bug Girl.
Yeah. Hold on, let me present it. This is I don't know. This is getting really weird. Okay, where is it? Okay, there we go.
I will bring it up.
So from Bug Girl.
Yeah.
Stop defending wives of fascists. These women have brains. They're using every day when they date fascists, marry fascists, reproduce with fascists, and then fuck fascists at night with their hands still lathered in the blood of the people whose life they disregarded to get picked. Guess what, ladies? Getting picked by your oppressors won't save you. I guess that's a direct shot at AOC and these people. You'll be subservient to them until the day they decide to eat your face just like they ate everyone else's, and no one is going to care. But I bet you're pleased to be watching. Enjoy your apathy for now. And then all of the comments are just like, ma'am, this is a family website. Like this is such a weird tweet. Oh my god!
A very, very strange tweet. Oh my god!
But it's just like that video of that girl. What? Why do these people? Why do they? This is, bro. Like the whole like women reading smut thing needs to stop. They need to stop with their weird Handmaid's Tale fantasies or whatever.
Like they can't even think out the rational implications of like some quote unquote supposed anti-trans legislation. It's like, well,
they can't even get it right. It's going to be like trans people and gay people using their bodies for baby making. Like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And then just to finish off on a completely schizophrenic note.
Since we're already there, with these last things.
So hold on a second here. To finish off on a completely schizophrenic note, completely unrelated note, I found this video and I just wanted to share it with everyone. Because it may be the most amazing thing to ever exist anywhere.
Wait, stop! Doesn't have to be like this. Let them go. You must be the one hiding all these retards. How are you doing this? Because no lives matter, bitch. Wait.
Because no lives matter, biatch. And then you might be asking yourself,
where is this from?
Hold on. You might be asking yourself, why does it randomly cut to a person with Down syndrome? And the reason is because a couple of years ago, somebody made a movie called Special Needs Revolt. Meet America's Last Hope. And it's essentially an account. There's a president that is standing for Trump, and fascists have taken over America, and they're discriminating against everyone. And the only hope for humanity is one man with Down syndrome to rise up against the evil fascistic dictator. The best part is I didn't even know that was from this movie. I showed this to my buddy, and then he found the movie. It's free on Tubi. He's going to come over 2 Thursdays from now, and we're going to watch it, and it's going to be amazing.
Oh my God. The handicap sign has a fucking AK-47.
I didn't even notice that. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Look at There's no way.
Oh, I had to watch it. I think I had to watch it one more time because when he said no lives matter, I almost died.
Doesn't have to be like this. Let them go. You must be the one hiding all these retards. Doing this because no lives matter, bitch.
Dude, don't you get like bad karma for playing roles like that?
Well, hey, he's who's playing which role?
Just like anyone in this movie.
Hey, it is an uplifting story about a man with Down syndrome. They're giving a special needs person an actual role, and he's going to defeat the evil. I can't wait to watch it. I cannot wait to watch it. Honestly, you know what would be fun? We're talking about doing movies.
No,
I guess maybe eventually. No. Maybe eventually.
Mystery Science Theater with this movie.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, no, this is a place. I know the theme song says this isn't a place of retards, but we're all clearly very retarded. So I wanted to end it on a very retarded note. And thanks everybody for listening. And next time it'll be super retarded. I pretty much guarantee it. You got anything else, Angel?
I don't know how to follow any of this up. All right.
Amazing. Look at his face. I mean, like, I honestly think the only thing that is allowing him to save the day is that extra chromosome.
I think at this point, before we say anything worse, we just fade to black.
That's honestly, you know what? I'm going to cut it off before he...